Schools reopened on the 14th of September for planning week, where principals were expected to sit with their staff and decide on the approach that would be used for the reopening of schools for the entrance of the students. I can say that it was not on the 14th, however, that principals began to think about what the schools should look like. That process started long before the Ministry of Education had actually decided on a date for the start of the first term. That is important because we need to understand how we should operate in this COVID-19 environment with all the protocols that have been put in place. And because each school has different dynamics, different factors that would affect how the school functions, each primary school principal, nursery school principals, and special needs school principals were expected to design an approach that was fitting for the environment in which they were functioning. The Ministry of Education recommended the blended approach and the shift system. However, they were not averse to the face-to-face traditional system, and this particular approach would have been applicable more to smaller primary schools, those with small student base, and those schools that had the facilities, the physical plant was suitable for that kind of approach. Here at St. Bartholomew, this is what we did. We did a face-to-face approach. But from the feedback of principals, the reopening was not that easy for all of them. Even though it went smoothly on the first day, it was not easy because many of the resources that they had asked for were not forthcoming. So for instance, those persons who are operating online, some students have not received their devices as yet. I believe the Ministry of Education is working to get the devices into the schools. The schools receive the PPE, they receive limited supplies of alcohol, they receive masks for students and staff, and that was perhaps the most of it. But the other resources that many of the schools have been asking for, they have not as yet received. They have not received their grants as yet, so that they can purchase additional items that will be needed. And we are hoping that these grants will be disbursed as soon as possible, because unless we have some money, it's going to be difficult to function as we would want to, especially since we need to be continuously sanitizing the plant and etc. I must say, I must congratulate the principals for the effort that they made in ensuring that students were back in school this term. I think that they really worked hard. Principals were at schools sometimes on weekends to ensure that the school plants were ready. And some principals spent personal funds to ensure that they had the facilities up to mark. So kudos to them for all that they have done. And we hope that within the upcoming weeks that personnel in the Ministry of Education will continue to respond to our needs.